Greetings and salutations, and welcome to the Brahma Bulletin. Thank you all so much for watching. I greatly appreciate you. Unfortunately, XFLMikeG will not be joining me tonight. I'll be doing this solo. He's a little bit under the weather, so Mike, I hope you feel better soon. All right, let's get into the show. We're going to start off with some UFL news. The playoffs have already been set. We know the four teams that are going to be in there. On the USFL side, it's going to be the Panthers and the Stallions. On the XFL side, it's going to be the Brahmas and the Battlehawks. Now, some of the scenarios that we can possibly be talking about is tiebreakers. Now, when it comes to tiebreakers, I haven't seen anything official from the UFL, so this is kind of like speculation based upon what happened last year. Now, last year it was overall record, and then it was head to head, conference record, strength of victory, and then points score. So on the USFL side, the Stallions and the Panthers are in, like I said. The Stallions, if they lose out, they finish 8-2. If the Panthers win out, they also finish 8-2. Now we look at the head-to-head. They would have been split uh, games between each other for the season, so they'll both also be 4-1 in the USFL conference. So that's the conference record. And then you have the strength of schedule. Now they would have both have lost to the same teams. The Stallions would have lost to Michigan and San Antonio, and Michigan would have lost to Birmingham and to San Antonio. So then this is where we get into the sticky wicket. It's going to possibly come down to points scored. And if that is the hypothetical case where the Birmingham loses out and the Panthers win out, then it can come down to which team scored the most points. Right now, that is the Stallions. Now, on the XFL side, like I said, the Brahmas and the Battlehawks are in. Now, for the Battlehawks, it's easy. They win and we lose this week, then the Battlehawks get the division. For the Brahmas, it's also very clear. Win out, the division is ours. Now, there is a situation that we could get into a tie. And that means that if St. Louis somehow loses to Arlington this week, then San Antonio can afford to lose to the Stallions. And if that's the case, we still have the same record, and then we would play each other for week 10 for the last game of the season. Now, let's say San Antonio wins that. Then we both finish 3-7. But St. Louis would have the tiebreaker as they would have a better conference record. They would only have one loss in the conference. That would be to Arlington, and we would have two XFL conference losses to San Antonio, to St. Louis, and also we lost to DC. So even if we were to lose to Arlington and to Birmingham, and even if St. Louis was to lose to Arlington, we're still not going to make the play. Still not get the first place in the division because we would have a worse conference record than St. Louis. So very simple. Bottom line, the Brahmas do need to win out if they wish to make the playoff, not make the playoffs, but get the first place in the division. All right. So we have some news. Now we do have that the XFL Championship trophy has been revealed. So let me pull that up real quick for y'all, and let me see what you have to think about this. All right, pull that up real quick. Yes, here it is. All right, that is definitely not it. Sorry, I had all this stuff lined up. There we go. Here, so this is the UFL Championship trophy that has just been revealed today. Right. I don't know what y'all think about this. It doesn't look too bad. I have had seen some people that are like, well, we kind of wish that it had a football on the top because when you look at it, it's just a open-ended trophy, and then there were some jokes about that there was no way that you can drink beer out of it if you were to win the championship. But yeah, I mean, it doesn't look too bad. Doesn't look too bad. but I know it'll look even better in the possession of the Brahmas when they win the championship this year. All right. Now some Brahmas news. We do have some transaction reports when it comes to the Brahmas. We have some very good news here. We have that QB1, our starting quarterback for the season, Chase Garbers, has been taken off of IR and he's now on the inactive roster. So that's very good news. He's one step closer to possibly playing. And we also say that because Chase Garbers got placed back on the roster, that quarterback Jaden DeLaura has been waived, and tackle Greg Moore has also been waived. And then we also see that another transaction report is that we have wide receiver Matt Landers was released recently. And the injury report looks like it just came out, maybe just about, I want to say a couple minutes before I started the show. And the latest report here is Alize Mack, Chase Garbers, Darius Phillips, Garrett Nelson, Justin Smith, and KD Cannon are all listed as probable. Greg Island and Joel Ayumbwini, sorry if I slaughtered that last name, are out, and Tim Ward is out. And doubtful, this could be some not so good news, but running back John Lovett has been listed as doubtful. So that's a pretty big blow to the Brahmas in their running game. I think for the Steins game, we definitely do need to establish a very good running game. And now with John Lovett out, that could cause some problems. All right. Now, before we get into the preview of the Renegades and Brahmas game, I do want to say that uh, at the Stallions game, or not the Stallions game, but the Renegades game, they had a very special individual that was singing the national anthem. Uh, because the charity that was promoted before the game was for Down syndrome, and we had a young lady who did have Down syndrome sing the national anthem, and I thought it was very amazing. It was a great performance. Loved every second of it. The crowd was in uproar, roaring applause, and there was a couple of people that were sitting behind me in the stands, and one lady, she was like crying. She was like openly weeping, and she was very moved by it. So congratulations, Brahmas, and want to give a shout out to you guys. Tip of the hat to that. That was a very special moment. It was very touching, and I thought it was a really great thing that you guys did to have that young lady live her dream. That was probably a dream come true for her to sing the national anthem before the game. So tips off, and hats off to you guys. All right, let's get into the Stallions and the Brahmas preview. Okay, so some of the keys that I have for the Brahmas for victory in this game. Number one, the defense need to slow Birmingham's offense down. When you look at the statistics for the Birmingham Stallions, they are basically number one in every single offensive category you can think of. They are tops in total offense, passing yards, yards per completion, yards per attempt, passing touchdowns, yards per game, rushing yards per attempt, and rushing yards per game. That's every single category you can think of. The Stallions are number one in offense in every one of those. So our defense, I believe our defense is the tops in the league. Maybe not statistically, but just with the playmakers that we have, I do believe that we have the best defense in the league, and we need to continue to do that. We shut down Arlington last week after they dropped 40 some odd points on the Showboats the week before. We held them down to 3 points in the first half, and yeah, we kind of took the pedal off the gas a little bit, and they allowed them to come back in. But San Antonio needs to have a complete defensive game if they want to stop the Stallions. And I do not think that Birmingham is going to take it easy for the rest of the season. I think they want to try to get that 10-0 record, and they're not going to slow down. So our defense needs to really step up. My second key to victory is that Quentin Dorman needs to repeat his performance that he had last week. I thought it was a good recovery game for him. After the last couple weeks in Arlington and at DC and in Houston, it was pretty subpar performances. So to see that him step up and have a good performance against the Renegades was really encouraging. I think he needs to continue that. Now, I know that 200 of his 320 yards was all yak yards. So, I mean, you can, nitpick that all you want, but Dormandy did what he was supposed to do. He put the ball in the hands of his playmakers, let them do what they were supposed to do. So he did what he asked, and I think he needs to continue that. He had no turnovers against the Renegades. That has always been a problem with him this year. Is having those turnovers, whether it be fumbles, interceptions. He, he needs to negate those, and we will have a chance. The next one is that special teams needs to improve. Ryan Santoso, in my opinion, inexplicably missed two field goals. Actually, two straight field goals against the Renegades. It's indoors, so there's no wind, there's no weather, there's nothing like that. And one of them was like a 38-yard field goal, which for a professional kicker is a chip shot, and he missed them. Now, when it comes to Stallions, like we were saying, is that they do score and they score a lot, and they are the top team in offense in every category. So we need as much offense as we possibly can get, and that means we cannot leave any points on the field. That means we need to convert every single uh, extra point that we get. And so far, in extra points, we've been very good. We converted both extra point attempts last week. We just need to convert those field goals. All right, so let's get into my predictions from last week. Last week, boy, it was awful. All right, last week I said that Kevin Hogan will start and throw for at least 2 touchdowns. Well, I was incorrect. That that prediction blew up in my face right even before the game started. It was named maybe 10 minutes after I published my article that Quentin Doherty would started. So I was wrong on that. I said that John Lovett will rush for 100 yards. I was incorrect on that. He rushed for only 37 yards. I said the Brahmas will record at least 3 sacks. I was incorrect. They had 2 sacks. And finally, I said the Brahmas will force at least one turnover. I was incorrect. They did not have a single turnover. They did have 2 interceptions. One of them on replay, it did show that he did not have control of it. And the second one was negated by a silly defensive holding penalty. So I was utterly wrong with my predictions. I was 0 for 4. So that leaves me overall for this year, I am 8 right and 25 wrong. Oh boy. All right, so my predictions for this game. My first prediction, I said that the Brahmas will rush for more yards than the Stallions. So I think that the Brahmas are going to have a better rushing performance than the Stallions. It's kind of saying a lot considering the Stallions have the #1 rushing offense in the league. I said the Brahmas will record 3 sacks and they will score on their opening drive. That seems to be the thing that we do. The home team has the option of either receiving or kicking. We have been receiving almost every single time. We are being aggressive, trying to get the ball first and score. And in the first quarter, we are outscoring our opponents. And we usually do convert really well in scoring on our first drive. I think that will continue. And the Brahmas, my fourth prediction is the Brahmas will convert on all of their extra point attempts. So I am banking that Ryan Santoso will recover and he will make all his field goal attempts, and we will be much better on that. All right, so that is my thoughts about the Birmingham Stallions and the San Antonio Brahmas game. Win the rest of our games, we get the first place in the division, and it all starts right now. Um, and we have secured a playoff spot, but the mission's not complete. We still have a chance of winning that XFL championship title. It's going to be a hard task because you look at it, we do have the hardest schedule of any team in the league. I mean, we're facing the undefeated Stallions, and then we're facing the Battlehawks, and I mean, they ain't no spring chicken themselves. Um, so we still have a lot to play for. I guess the real question is, what are the Steins going to do? like I said before, I think they are going to go full throttle. They're not going to rest any starters. They're going to go um, to full throttle, and they're going to get the best from them. And so we're going to get the best from the best, and that is going to be a good measuring stick for us to see how we can compete in the playoffs. All right. Now, with that being said, let's transition into the Gunslingers. All right. So when it comes to the Gunslingers, there are some news that we want to give, and that is that unsurprisingly enough, that Sam Casanova has been named the Offensive Player of the Week once again. Now, Sam has been Offensive Player of the Week 3 times, and now he's been named twice in a row, 2 weeks in a row. The guy is absolutely on fire. I mean, it's almost basically no stopping him right now. So, congratulations on Sam Casanova finishing 20 of 25 for 274 yards, 7 touchdowns, and 51 yards of rushing. So, congratulations, Sam Casanova, on winning Offensive Player of the Week in the IFL for the second straight week. All right. Now, there is some bad news that it was announced on the coach's show. For those who don't watch it, I highly recommend that you check it out. It is branded with head coach Tom Menas. You can catch that on YouTube every Wednesday. His last show that he had just yesterday, he announced that Austin Collier is injured and he's going to be out for the rest of the season. So that's a pretty big blow for the Gunslingers, but it's got to move on. One step, it's got to be the next man up. Uh, Good luck to him, and I hope him for a very, very speedy recovery. All right, so my keys to victory when it comes to the Gunslingers and the Bay Area Panthers. It's going to be offense versus defense. The Gunslingers continue to have the best offense in the IFL in basically every single offensive category you can think of. And Bay Area they're toward the top in defense. So it's going to be how they can stop our unstoppable offense. And with Sam Casanova being on fire the way he is, that's going to be a tough task for Bay Area. But they do have a very good defense. They're very well coached. They are 7-1. They have the best record in the IFL. They're defending champions, so they have the pedigree. So it's going to be, can our offense continue to be a juggernaut like they have been all year long? My second key is that our defense, needs to continue to improve. Although they've been playing much better recently, they are still statistically the worst defense in the IFL. We are giving up a lot of points, the most points than anybody else in the league, and our opponents are almost basically able to score on at will. Uh, our defense has improved a lot over the course of the last several weeks. Um, we need to be able to continue to do that. I've noticed in the last couple of weeks that the Gunslingers are starting to generate more turnovers, and they have been applying pressure at a better rate than they have. They're starting to get to the quarterback, they're starting to get sacks, and they're starting to generate those turnovers, which, uncoincidentally enough, means that we are doing much better. We are 4-1 in the last 5 games, and it's no coincidence that it's because our defense has been improving. So we need to continue to do that, keep generating that pressure on the quarterback, get those turnovers, make those stops, we'll be just fine. And the third key to our victory, and this has been a key to our victory every single week for the entire season, and it is the penalties. The penalties continue to kill us. We've been getting flagged 5, 6, 7 times every single game. Most of it's illegal defense. Um, whether you think the refs are out to get us, if you think that they are just terrible refs, whatever the case might be, the penalties need to be cleaned up because I've seen too many times where we actually get a stop on the opponent, which in the IFL is kind of hard to do because it's a very high scoring league. And our coach just wants us to make a defensive stop one time each half. We do that we win because of our offense is so powerful. And we get that one stop, and then it's negated because of a penalty, and so the opponent gets to sustain the drive and eventually to turn around and score, and then that just puts a lot more pressure on our offense to be perfect. Thankfully, our offense has been up to the challenge, and they have been perfect, but we can't keep relying on that. The defense needs to stop committing silly penalties. All right, let me take a look at my predictions from last week's game with the Oilers. Oh boy, much better. Well, I wouldn't say much better. It was a little bit better than my Brahmas predictions, but I predicted that Kali Rashad would have at least 2 touchdowns. I was incorrect. He did not have a touchdown. I said the Gunslingers will gain at least 300 yards of total offense. Finally, I had a correct prediction. They had a total of 360 yards of offense. I said that TC Stevens will not miss an extra point attempt. I was incorrect. He had a field goal attempt blocked, and he had an extra point that he missed. That is also another disturbing trend that I've noticed with the Gunslingers. We're getting a lot of kicks blocked. If I'm not mistaken, I think we've had a kick blocked every week for the past like 4 weeks. Every week we've been having a kick block. Uh, that definitely needs to change. All right, so my last prediction, I said the Gunslingers will not commit more than 4 penalties. I was incorrect. They committed, oh boy, 15 penalties. I mean, I had to take a double look at that just to make sure I was reading it correctly. That is correct. They committed 15 penalties against the Tulsa Oilers. Again, that's one of my keys to victory. We need to clean that up. We cannot be committing 15 penalties against the Bay Area Panthers. I mean, they're one of the best teams in the league, and that was not going to do. So my Week 10 results, I was 1-3. So overall, I'm 11 right, and I'm 31 wrong. All right. Now my predictions for this week. I say that DJ Myers will have at least 80 yards of receiving. The Gunslingers will record at least 1 sack. Sam Castanova will throw at least 5 touchdowns. And the Gunslingers will convert at least 2 4th down conversions. So those are my predictions for the Gunslingers and the Bay Area Panthers. Well, this was a pretty quick video. He said poor Mike wasn't feeling too well, so he had to call in. So I'm kind of taking the load by myself. Um, hope it wasn't too bad for you guys. Had to be listening to my annoying voice for a couple minutes, but that'll be it for the video. If you guys have any comments, please drop them in the comment section. If you haven't checked it out already, please check out our website. It is alternativefootballnetwork.com. It is a great, great website. It's got all of our uh, collaborators and our partners. And you take a look here. It's a great website, alternativefootballnetwork.com. We have all kinds of partners here. The flagship is UFL Insiders, where um, what we have been doing is the collaborators that follow certain teams have been coming on Tuesday nights and giving their thoughts about each team. We also have our good partners, Texans Talking Football. You got my show. You had Alan Alford. He was on this past Tuesday with Matthew. We also have Horns Forward Podcast. They are like the premier podcast to watch for all things San Antonio Brahmas. Very good people. And also, we have the Texas Talking Football people are also part of the Horns Forward Podcast. Now, with the CFL gearing up, if you're into Canadian football, we do have a partnership with the Canadian Football Countdown as well too. So check out the website. It's a great website. You'll have the contest. It will have links to the videos, and we have original articles as well too. So check it out if you are interested. Well, I think that's it, guys. I think it's time for this Brahma to be put out to pasture, at least until the next episode. Until then, San Antonio, horns forward and keep your guns up. Have a good night, guys.